Hey, welcome back. And so today we are going to be talking about why this camera, my Nikon Z6, is not right there. You see, up till now, all of my videos, minus the one done last week, were filmed with this camera. But I decided, because I'm me and I love gear and spending / wasting money on incredibly expensive gear, I chose to buy a Sony FX3, which is what I'm recording this video on right now. Do I need the FX3? Absolutely not. Did I want the FX3? Absolutely I did. And today I'm going to talk about the 5 things that were really appealing to me in upgrading from the Z6 to switch over to the Sony line. So while this channel is mostly about time management, it's also about my hobbies, and one of my hobbies is apparently spending money on expensive things. But the real reason I wanted to talk about this camera has to do with time management. In a sense, this camera purchase and upgrade was all about eliminating friction points in the YouTube video creation and hopefully making these videos a bit quicker. You see, up till now, all of these YouTube videos have been for enjoyment. It's been fun. I've loved making these and I've had a great time. However, I was starting to notice there were some pain points in the process, some things which were just small annoyances. And so eliminating these friction points will hopefully allow me to have more fun, and along the line, they also help me to make these videos quicker. So let's dive into it. Scratch that. Before we dive into it, let me just say I'm pretty sure many of you are wondering why I'm not filming this last video on the Z6. I don't say Z. Ever. I started filming this on the Z6 and it was just too annoying. There was too much friction involved in it, and so I decided to scrap that, reset up the FX3, and start over again. And so instead, you're gonna get a whole bunch of B-roll shots with the FX3, and I'm just gonna hold the Z6 in my hand like a moron. Now, the number one reason I wanted to update has to do with audio. You see, I use an external mic, which is right up here out of frame, and it's an XLR mic. The Z6 can only input via a standard auxiliary port. So what I had to do is I had to send signal from the mic all the way to my external audio recorder, record it on there while the video was being recorded on the Z6. I then take those 2 files to the computer, import them to Final Cut Pro, and then have to synchronize them and then go proceed with the edit. However, the FX3 has a handle which has XLR inputs directly on the handle. That means when I'm recording this video on the FX3, it's also recording the audio at the same time. Audio and video in one file, no post-production synchronization necessary. It's been fantastic. It may seem a bit ridiculous to just skip over that little step, but hey, it was a friction point. I had to set up recording and remember to start and stop recording on 2 separate devices. I had to copy over from 2 separate memory cards, synchronize them. I'm just happy not to have to do that anymore. But there was also another benefit, which has saved me a ton of time. Literally, it saved me about 50% of the time that I spend editing my A cut, the initial pass of the video edit. Now that I have a single file, I can drag it onto an app called Recut, which will strip out all the silences and generate a Final Cut project timeline for me. I then just listen through that one time, deleting all the segments that were retakes, and I have a beautiful A cut in a fraction amount of the time. So for that reason alone, I am already saving a bunch of time. Second reason was the flip out LCD screen. The Z6 has a tilting LCD screen. It can tilt down and it can tilt up, and that's great for taking pictures. Unfortunately, it doesn't work when the camera is facing you like this. I can't see the LCD screen. Obviously, you shouldn't be looking at the LCD screen when recording, but when you're the one recording yourself, you need to be able to see that you're in frame and composed well before hitting the record button. And so beforehand, I had to have this external monitor, which I had to attach on here. It seems like a silly thing that I would get frustrated by just having to attach this external monitor, but it was a big pain point because I'd have to also fish around power for it and plug it in, blah, 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 blah. But even more than that, this sticks up an extra 6 inches or so, and it kept on knocking into everything on my desk and getting in the way. And it was just a huge pain point. The FX3 has the flip out LCD screen, which has made this so much easier. What I didn't expect though is that has been enormously helpful for when taking my thumbnail pictures. Making thumbnails for my YouTube videos takes way more time than I ever anticipate before I create a YouTube channel. And until now, I had to have Yolanda come in and help me frame it, compose it, press the button. Now, whenever I'm ready to take a thumbnail picture, I can just fold out the LCD screen, make sure I'm composed well, press the self-timer button, sit back, wait 2 seconds, smile, and we have a great thumbnail. That has been, I don't want to sound over dramatic, but it's been kind of life-changing in this regard. Thumbnails are now enjoyable to make where they used to be a part I dreaded above all else. Okay, number 3, and this is where I'm really regretting not having the FX3 in my hand to show you. This doesn't have to do with the camera body itself, instead it has to do with the Sony E-mount lenses, and that is the Sony GM 16-35 fixed aperture 2.8 lens. This is a great lens that isn't available on the Nikon Z system. That range, 16 to 35 millimeters, has covered the entire focal range that I have used in every single one of my videos so far, and will probably cover 98% of the focal ranges that I want to use in the future. The best I can do on my Nikon camera was to use two lenses and having to swap back and forth between them, and both of those lenses are way bigger than this lens. So now I have a much more compact setup if I ever want to travel with this or use it as a vlog camera. That may sound a bit ridiculous to use such an expensive camera as a vlog camera, but check out Maddie's video linked up above, which was just released earlier today, in which he talks about the FX3 being a great vlog camera, possibly the best vlog camera ever released. Okay, now for the fourth reason in which I wanted to get the FX3, we are now talking about something that's a little bit in the weeds in that it didn't have to do with my YouTube channel necessarily. I have these great cameras, and I'm a software developer, I'm a volunteer, and I have a ton of Zoom meetings nowadays, whether or not it's for rescue time, or if it's for Signum, or if it's for online classes, or if it's for conferences. I have tons of Zoom meetings every single week. If I have these nice cameras, I want to use them, especially when compared to the terrible quality of my built-in webcam. And when I say terrible quality, I mean terrible quality. So why not use my nice camera? Now you see, both Sony and Nikon have software for macOS which turns their cameras into great webcams. The problem is Nikon's doesn't work, at least for me. In the middle of a Zoom call, my picture would freeze and it would stay frozen until I restarted the Mac, which was an inconvenience. So to get around that, I spent money, because apparently that's what I do, is I spend money to get rid of friction pain points. And I subscribe to the Ecamm Live Pro subscription, or whatever it is, paying $40 a month so that I would have the virtual webcam. $40 a month. But once again, I am on Zoom calls all the time. Guess what? Sony software works great. I know that because I've been using it for 2 weeks and I have had no problem whatsoever. So my Ecamm subscription just lapsed and I'm not going to renew it. Or, well, I'm not renewing it yet. I may renew it at a lower price tier at a later point because I have some streaming projects in mind. And so subscribe to this channel if you want to hear about those when they come to fruition. And the final major point, which is directly related to the last one, is that the FX3 has USB-C power pass-through. That means when I have the camera connected to my Mac via the USB-C cable to use as a webcam, it passes through power so the battery is not depleted. Now, it doesn't actively charge the battery, but it will stop the battery from being used when it is plugged in over USB-C. This is great. This means I can have, and have had over the past couple of weeks, the camera plugged in and on all day long, and there's still a full battery at the end of the day. The Nikon Z6 did not have USB-C power pass-through, which means I had to keep on doing the whole battery juggling thing in the middle of video conferences, which was a pain. Once again, just a friction point. Not a huge issue, but still a pain. So XLR input, flip out LCD screen, the 16 to 35 millimeter lens, webcam software that works, as well as USB-C power pass-through are the major things that really perched me over the edge in buying this camera. However, there is a whole assortment of things that I found to be just wonderful once I had this camera already. One of the ones which I wasn't really expecting or counting on when I got this camera is it can still be used as a photo camera. I've already talked how I am loving using this camera for thumbnails. I haven't really used it for anything else, but I'm gonna try it out this weekend, take it out and take some regular photo stills with it and see how it goes. I love the fact that I can still do that, even if it isn't my primary aim for this camera. This is probably going to be the only time that you will hear me say this, but it is a good thing that this device has a fan in it. Most other devices, I hate the fans. They make unnecessary noise. However, in a camera like this, my FX3 is not going to overheat. No matter what bitrate I'm recording at, if it's 4K or what, or how long it will get, this camera is not going to overheat because it has a built-in fan. Also, the Z6 here is designed as a still camera, which means it has a 30-minute recording limit. The FX3 has no limit to recording length. Well, I guess just depending on how big of an SD card I put inside of it. Now, this isn't a big deal, but it is nice. If I have a bunch of mistakes and outtakes, I can just keep on going and not have to worry about stopping and starting the recording just to make sure I don't hit that 30-minute recording limit. I can just record it all in one big file and then process it later. Related to that, the FX3 has SD cards. The Z6 uses XQD cards. Now, technologically, I prefer the XQD cards. I think they are a marvel. They're a lot more robust. They just are wonderful. I've never had any problems with them. However, they are more expensive and they're less common. I can pop the SD card out of my FX3 and plug into the dock here because there's a built-in SD card slot and copy the files over. With Nikon, I always had to pull out an extra card reader just to be able to, read the card. And the final thing, which I wasn't really considering, is the FX3 has front tally light. And that means when I press record, I see that the camera is on and recording because there's a red light there telling me so. Previously, when I had the Z6 up there, I'd press the record button. I'd be uncertain if it actually registered and was starting to record. So I have to get up, walk around, make sure it was recording, come back, sit down, get resituated, frame the shot, whatnot. I don't have to do that anymore. It's just these nice little conveniences that make it all better. So after going through all that, you may be saying, okay, Kelly, why not the A7S III? Well, that's a good question. The A7S III and the FX3 are very similar cameras. In fact, almost identically so, except for the body itself. Well, this is a photo camera. No, I got this as a video camera, not a photo camera. Video is my primary aim, and the FX3 is designed as a video camera. The main reason I chose this over the A7S III is because of the attachable handle. Sure, the A7S III has the attachable XLR input, so I could get the audio input and everything just fine feature-wise, but the fact that this has a handle which attaches, I just think might be more convenient in the future. However, this change leads me to wonder what is the future of my stills workflow. You see, I love the Nikon system. I just love the feel of it. To me, it feels like a camera. I enjoy using it. I'm not sure if it makes sense to maintain two camera systems. So will I get a second Sony body in the future and use that as a photo camera? Maybe. I don't know. I'm also considering, hey, if I care about just, fun and usability, maybe Fuji, because I like how they look. I've used them in the past. I've enjoyed them. Who knows? We'll see. All I know is, as much as I love Nikon, I'm not sure if I have much of a future in the Nikon system now that I have invested so much in the Sony system here. As I said at the beginning, all of the things I've been talking about so far are about eliminating friction points that make this YouTube video creation less fun, as well as making the process a bit quicker. Now, I know I'm incredibly fortunate in that I can spend an obscene amount of money on this camera system in front of me, something that is completely outside of my skill set to use. But Yolanda and I choose to live cheaply in most other areas, and I feel that this is an expense that I can make for this hobby that I'm doing now at the YouTube channel. If you're interested in some more, budget-oriented or sensible time management techniques, please check out the videos linked up here above. Otherwise, check out the fun ones over here, and above all, see you next time. Bye.